Have you missed me? I stepped away for a minute. Thank you so much for reaching out. This episode is your halfway point between season 8 and season 9. So I wanted to reach out to you guys, touch in, talk about a little bit of the fine tuning that we're going to be doing for season 9. And if you are looking for um, a podcast that brings you awareness of inner connectivity, if you are looking for conscious conversations, and if you basically want something to listen to while you're making dinner or driving that uplifts you and inspires you, you found the right place. If you want top 10 tips or shortcuts or how to blah blah blah, you have found the wrong place. And I want to make that really clear. I went through and I listened to some of my old episodes and wanted to see what I wanted to change. As there's always a conversation for me, do you keep creating the podcast? And the answer was yes. But I want to listen more and talk less. And I want to create a space. Have you ever heard that quote by Gloria Steinem that if God is in the details, Goddess is in the questions. And once you start asking them, you can't stop. Tend the Flame was renamed to switch from that initiatory energy that I'm really good at to a place of slowdown and um, consistency and helping us all together open our eyes to how much we have. Honestly, that's what it was about. And one of the guests I had to start season 8 is Domini Celebrate. And if you haven't listened to that episode, please go back. Because Domini is a healing practitioner who has that cadence, of vitality and rhythm. And the more the world is doing what the world is designed to do, the more the ability to opt out of that which you do not want to participate in is becoming really apparent. So, if you're someone that knows that and has a leaning towards the trees and understands that having an intact, albeit imperfect, because it will be, but you're efforting towards a relationship with yourself, with an inner dialogue, with trusting your inner flame. I mean, that's really where this podcast came from, right? Is the recognition that there is a spark in all of us. And you can see when someone's living that because it's in their eyes. You can see when someone's eyes are lit up. And there are seasons for all of us when the eyes get clouded and the burden is a little bit more than the sparkle. And then at some point, a choice comes, even if the burden is still there, for transmutation, where we remember the flame, we remember the spark, remember a different time that we made a choice and transmuted, or we come across a podcast that tells the story, or we cross paths with a friend and we can lean into their success or we can lean into their triumph and remember that your season, your transmutation is within the realm of possibility too. So, the greatest hope for this podcast is very similar for the original inspiration of me ever getting on a microphone. And it was to share stories with a woman caught in traffic on 95 that needed something to change, but she didn't know who to ask. You're like, is that you? I'm like, yeah, that's been me. But it was more a cross-pollination of when I was a yoga teacher and some of my teaching friends wanted to take a yoga class and they were afraid to walk through the door to the yoga studio because we had a yantra in the window. And it was, before yoga was on every corner and they were intimidated. And I thought, oh, it never even occurred to me because when I saw the yoga studio door, it was indicative of respite, of inclusivity, of connecting with myself. I was in my late 20s and I was very much having a very fun existence. But I was intrigued by the peace that I felt when I went to yoga class. And I was a graduate student when I was working and I was really busy. And I knew that if I went to yoga once a week, at least once a week, sometimes two, I did better. I didn't put anything else to it. I just did better. So I walked through that door. And there is an initiatory energy to walking through a door. But the thing that creates the change is when you create a consistency of what you find on the other side. And this podcast is a bit of a beacon for people to start walking through those doors because I guarantee you God has those doors placed strategically just short of your easy vision. And they're waiting for you to walk through. And the more courage you can summon in the small steps that nobody else notices, the larger the domino effect. And what do we need as humans to keep that going? Consistency. The blank notebook is fantastic, but the one that has the words in it is the one that creates pride and accomplishment, creates space, beckons in new opportunities. Um, so, yeah, you'll hear the cross metaphor of come sit by the fire, walk through the door, stop what isn't working, and make a very small change towards what is. You know, that is sort of my consistent thing is that it'll get to a point and then I'll sometimes, in case you need to hear this today when you found the podcast, when you look at something, but normally you're not looking. You're nowhere near a mirror. You don't really want to confront what's happening. And all of a sudden, a thought comes in your head and it says, there's more than this. There's more than this. You're right. There's more. And you're capable of creating it. More accurately, you're capable of allowing it, of just being like, yeah, I'm doing this now. So, season 9, which I suspect will have 24 episodes, is that you have the courage to stay with what you see on the other side of the threshold, and that you understand the necessity for all of us, including the woman with the microphone, for the community that gives us the support to stay, right? We are interconnected beings. Many of us, especially my listeners, are reaching a point in their life where they're realizing it's not that I can't do it all. It's that doing it all does not give me the peace that I deserve, the peace that I was born to shepherd, and the joy that it's my right to have in my days. Most listeners of this podcast know that they deserve a life they love. And you may be living it right now. You may be on the cusp of it. You might have been knocked off. But those are just seasons. And they just named all the seasons that you go through every year. So if you've been here for a long time, thank you so much for sticking through all the iterations of this podcast. If you just found us, I'm so grateful you're here. Thank you, both of you, the new, the new and the old listener. Let's share this podcast today. You know, the one that's not polished and the one that is just a call out to a friend to slow down, decide what you really want, and give yourself permission to receive it. I'll see you back here next week as we kick off season 9 of Tend the Flame.